All right. Welcome. My name is Kathleen Morgan. I'm with Lawrence Public Library, and we are delighted to see all of you here for the very first Tech Club session of 2023. So today we're going to talk about how to make your house or your home smarter through all sorts of cool little gadgets that can, turn on your lights from, across town or even from out of town, and all these other kind of cool things that Jim will talk to you about. So first thing I want to do is give a shout out to our retirement bootcamp sponsor, who is Capital Federal. They make this whole series possible. So if you're a customer, make sure you say thank you, because they've been so supportive of the library and we really appreciate it. So with that, I guess actually, if you have any questions in the course of Jim's presentation, at the bottom of your screen, there's a little speech bubble, and you can put your question in the chat and we'll make sure to monitor that so that everything gets answered. And if there's time, we'll, give you an opportunity to unmute and ask your question live. We will provide you with the slides tomorrow and a link, like I said, to the YouTube recording, so that you'll have all the information on the various websites that Jim will talk about. So I'm delighted to introduce Jim Barnes. He is the coordinator for the Public Tech Department at the library. For those of you who've done tech drop-in sessions or have gone to use a computer or the fabulous Sound and Vision Studio, Jim manages all of that and does an incredible job for us. So I will turn this presentation over to Jim and we'll get started.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. I've been feverishly studying the smart home gadgets for the last couple days, and so um, it's kind of a big topic. There's a lot of stuff out there, and I may not be able to answer in-depth questions, like exactly how something works or whether two little things work with each other and the way that they work. But I think it's going to be a pretty fun topic because I told Kathleen it's kind of like shopping. I'm just like I kind of have like a shopping list for everyone of some cool products and like kind of some of the best ones that are out there, it seems. So yeah, like she said, if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat, and we'll make this entire presentation available to you, because what I've done is just made a slideshow, and I've embedded a lot of links, so you can just refer back to this slideshow and you can check out all the resources. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So there's my slideshow. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
And yeah, I kind of, one of the first, as I was researching, one of the first articles I found was from wired.com, and it's this one here, how to get started um, setting up your smart home. So actually, I'm just going to click on that link, and it's a really good resource for just kind of like before you even start buying things, like what to consider. Um, so the first thing that they tell you to do here is pick your ecosystem. Okay. And so, um, and you can check this article out yourself, but basically there's three main ecosystems. There is the Amazon Alexa ecosystem, and the Google Nest ecosystem, and then the Apple HomeKit ecosystem. So it's, recently, the more and more I help folks, especially in the tech one-on-ones, when people have questions, I'm starting increasingly to explain everything based on these competing corporations. I mean, as a lot of what people have trouble with technology really kind of comes down to that, like, hey, why can't I sent my friend, I have a Mac, and I opened up Pages and made a Word document, and then I sent it to my friend and they can't open it. Why is that? Or why does what's the difference between Microsoft Word and Google Docs? And it's really just competing products. It's like literally like Coke and Pepsi. So sometimes they're interchangeable where you can just drink a Coke or a Pepsi. Just kind of depends on what you're feeling like. But then sometimes it's like trying to put you know, a Honda carburetor on a Ford truck, and it just, doesn't work because they're two competing companies and they don't care about making their stuff work with each other. So the smart home, uh, the whole topic is it's really based around these ecosystems. Um, and you can get different, like you can have like lots of different stuff in your house that uses, like some use Amazon, work best with Amazon, some work best with Google, some work best with your iPhone and with Apple. But I'm trying to find the best succinct way to say this. Like you're just going to have to open up the individual apps all the time. So you can get a hub. That would be the next part of the equation. You can pick your ecosystem, and then you can buy a hub like a smart speaker or a smart screen, and then that can control all of your things. But if you don't want to do that, or you just end up buying different items that don't work with each other, it'll be fine. You just have to open up all the different little apps on your phone all the time. So this is a hard. It's not complicated really. It's just kind of hard to explain. So like if I buy um, a thermostat that works, it's a Google thermostat, and then I buy like a smart plug that turns on and off a light, and it's a different brand, then I just will have two different apps on my phone, and I have to open up the app for my thermostat and adjust it, and I have to open up the app for my light and turn it on and off. And but you can, if you think ahead, you can get like one hub and make sure that all of your things are compatible with one ecosystem, and then you can integrate all of them into one central app, and then you can schedule things, you can combine things, you can manage them all from one app or one speaker with voice commands. So on one hand, this is a huge deal, but on the other, you can have lots of different things. It's just a little more cumbersome to use them. They won't all like integrate into the same app. So like if you have everything, if you have smart lights and smart door locks and stuff, and you have them all in the same app, you can actually set up like a preset that like at 8 o'clock, all the lights dim and the thermostat goes up a degree so that I'm cozy, and then the blinds close and stuff like that. You can make it all the same, but that's pretty advanced. So I wouldn't get like too overly concerned with it, but you want to make sure when you're buying something that like if you have an iPhone and it's really important that it works really well with your iPhone, then you can look for Apple HomeKit compatible. That's the third one here. And if you use an Android phone and you really like your Google stuff, and you use a Chromebook a lot, and you want it to work really well with that, you can look for Google Assistant compatible or Google Nest compatible. And if you really like your Amazon, you have your Amazon Alexa speaker, then you might as well just look for things that are compatible with that. So all that being said, there's actually pretty big news in the world of smart home devices. There's a protocol that is coming out supposedly about now, like the end of late 2022, called Matter, and this is like supposed to be a universal protocol that will allow us not to have to worry about all the stuff that I just said. But so supposedly this, and I have a link here to a New York Times article. One thing I wanted to mention, it's actually the next slide here. I'll jump back. These are three resources that I was using to kind of research this topic. A lot of people kind of forget about this, I think, but the library, you can use Consumer Reports for free with your library card through the library's website. So you can access Consumer Reports and see like, what are the best Wi-Fi bulbs for my home, and it rates all of them. And then you can also get a free New York Times trial subscription through the library's website, and I have a link here in this document, and that'll allow you to see some of these New York Times Wirecutter articles that I was using to research this topic, and they're kind of embedded in here. And then also I use some from wired.com, which you can look for 4 articles a month. So we're going to jump back real quick. This is an article here that I just linked called it's smart homes biggest problem might get better, and here's what you need to know about Matter. And Matter is a common protocol for Amazon Alexa, Google Home, and Apple HomeKit to talk to each other through. So you should be able to in the future, like within maybe a year or two, it seems like. It says it's supposed to be late 2022, but you know how these things go. It's not quite ready yet, but supposedly all of your smart devices should be able to be used with any ecosystem, and you can control all of your smart devices with whatever voice command you choose. Like you could use Siri for iPhone and just say, "Hey Siri," and it can work with your Google Nest thermostat. I'm just throwing out some random things that we'll get to. We'll get to what those devices are. And then also older devices that should be able to be upgraded. A lot of them should be able to be upgraded to the Matter protocol. And so hopefully in the future, this will be easier. That's really all you need to know. It's not quite a thing yet, but be on the lookout for this logo. I think maybe in the next year or two, you might start seeing that, and it should mean that it should just work better without having to worry about which corporation it's coming from. So, so yeah, I mean, I would just say as far as the ecosystem, just kind of whatever you're already used to. I wouldn't say one's better than the other so much. It's just what you're used to. Like, so if you really like your iPhone and you already have an iPad, and even if you have like a Mac and you're comfortable with like iCloud and stuff like that, then you might want to just make sure that all your devices are compatible with Apple's HomeKit. But if you like your Amazon and you like to use Amazon Prime a lot and you have your Amazon Echo speaker, then you might as well just use that. So it's not really that one is hugely different than the others. I would just say use what you're comfortable with and what you're used to. Um, so once you kind of pick an ecosystem, um, a lot of people use a smart speaker, and so it can play music, but it can also act as a hub for your smart devices, and you can use voice commands. So an Amazon Echo, this is where the shopping list starts here. The Amazon Echo, $75. It's a little, I think we've all kind of seen these. They're super popular, like for gifts, and because they're not too expensive and they go on sale big time, like on Black Friday and stuff like that. So, and they're cute and they just sit on your counter, and you can say, like, you can ask what the temperature is, and you can turn on your music, or you can turn on like your lighting, or this is when it gets more important to have your things be compatible. If you have an Amazon Alexa compatible thermostat, let's say, you could set the temperature in your house. You could say set the temperature to 72 degrees. And then Google's version of the smart speaker is called the Google Nest. And it looks like this. I'm just showing you the cheaper, kind of the intro options on all these. Looks kind of like that. And it's also about the same price. And so like you can't buy Google Nest on Amazon, or at least I didn't see it when I looked for an Amazon link. That's why I just had a Best Buy link in there. So that's where you get into these competing companies. Like Amazon doesn't sell Google's speakers on their site, um, and uh, yeah, same. It basically does the same thing. And the last one is the HomePod Mini, which is the one in the picture up there. That's Apple's version, so that's an Apple product, and it works well with Apple HomeKit and your iPhone. So it's the most seamless with an iPhone. And they sound really good too. I think most of these sound pretty good, but my brother-in-law has one of these Apple HomePod Minis, and I really like the way it sounds. And I'm a musician, so I'm kind of picky when it comes to that stuff. So you can play your music and you can also do all your voice commands through it. And then the next level, if you want to bump up to see, so for me personally, I'm not super into smart home, but I don't actually have a hub. I've never really wanted to talk to a speaker or to talk to a microphone, all the time. Like some people like it. Um, I usually just open up my phone and like turn on a light or adjust my thermostat or whatever. So you don't have to have one of these things. I think for some people, everyone's different. So for some people, it appeals to just say, "Hey, Alexa, do this," and I've always just done it with my phone. But if you want to go to the next level, you can do a hub with a screen like this. This is a Google Nest Hub, is the pictured one here. So Amazon, they have an Echo Show, is what they call it. So it's kind of like a little screen. I think there's a built-in camera and mic, so you can do video calls on there. And a lot of this stuff is like kind of replicates what your phone does. So, it's like, well, why? One of the questions would be like, why do I need both, And I guess my main answer is a lot of these videos that you see, like the marketing materials, they're in their kitchen. And like one of the things that you can do is like, video chat your family like while you're cooking, or you can say, "Hey, show me a recipe for chocolate chip cookies," and it'll come up on the screen like if you have like your hands sticky with the cookie dough. Um, and so like the hands-free operation especially in the kitchen seems to be like really nice. And then I guess you could just like not run down the battery on your phone all the time or not have to get your phone out of your pocket or your purse. But so these are kind of the same. They have a speaker built in, but they also have a screen, so you can do even more. So they got the Amazon versions, the Google versions. Like one of the pictures of the Google version has it play in YouTube, and that got me thinking, yeah, because like a lot of times I'm doing a home project or something like working under the sink and fixing the drain or something, and I might want to be watching a YouTube video to show me how to do that at the same time. But I'm getting tired of like propping my phone up all the time to look at it, and like you could maybe have one of these that's just like a bigger screen to show you your YouTube videos while you're cooking or while you're doing a home project. Oh, one thing that I thought was cool about these Google Nest hubs is you can wave your hand in front of them, so you don't have to touch them. So like if your hands are wet or whatever, you can just wave your hand and it senses like the waving of your hand, and you can use that to do certain gestures. I thought that was kind of cool. And so the Apple HomeKit ecosystem doesn't actually have hubs with screens like this. You can use an iPad as a hub, I think, but I think most people just use either a speaker or their phone. And some people get worried about these. Some of these come with cameras and some of them don't. And so the question is like, is it always recording me? And um, maybe it's kind of the answer. So you can get camera covers for some of these and kind of cover up the camera because it shouldn't be, but like I think it is possible for malicious folks to kind of hack into these and like look through the camera, or maybe the company is like recording it. Supposedly they're not. They say they don't, but some people don't want a camera in their kitchen all the time, and some people don't mind it. So that's just something to consider. I think some of these the cheaper ones don't have cameras, and some of the more expensive ones do for video conferencing. Um, so yeah, now we just get into kind of some of the basic products that you can control with your hub, or with your voice commands, or just with your phone. The most basic would be smart plugs. Um, and so I've kind of mentioned this already, but just to make it more concrete, if you just I'll gotta give my experience. I won a raffle maybe like 5 years ago, and I got 3 smart plugs. Like, cool! I got these smart plugs. That's kind of cool. I can turn the lights on and off. But they were kind of a random brand, which is fine. But um, but it comes with, that brand has an app, and it's not a very known brand, and so then you end up having to go to let's call it like, I don't know. Let's just make up a name. I'm going to make up the name GoV because that's actually a different brand, but say they're GoV brand. And then I'm going to have to go to the App Store and download the GoV app onto my phone. And then whenever I want to turn on that light, I'm going to open up the GoV app and select light number one and turn it off and turn it on, and it'll enable and disable that plug. And so it's not a big deal. It's just if you have a lot of different items, you might have a lot of different little apps that you have to go into. And so at some point when you're trying to turn on and off a light, that's harder than turning a switch on and off, so like we didn't really gain anything by clicking like several times on our phone when we could have just flipped a switch. It's like um so that's just something to kind of be thinking about. Like some of these things are fun, but like, is it really making your life easier or not? Because there's a lot of things that will be sold to you, and they all have people frolicking in the advertisements, but um, sometimes you do have to set these up when you get them. There'll be a box that they come in. Usually there's a code, and you have to open up the app and enter in a code, and you have to get it to work with your Wi-Fi. You have to enter in your information. You have to enter in your Wi-Fi password. And so there's some setup on the front end of these, and usually they work fine after that. But then sometimes they might become disconnected for some reason. You got to go back and set them up again. So um, they're trade-offs. It's more complication. So they're fun, but sometimes it can be like a little bit more headache than it needs to be. Depends on what you're doing. But the smart plug is kind of like the most basic. You just plug in a light bulb into it, plug in a light, and then you can turn that on and off with a voice command or your phone, or you can set up a schedule, which is one of the things I really like to do. Just have it come on at 7 a.m. and go off at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. or whatever. As light bulbs use LED technology instead of incandescent, they use a lot less electricity than they used to. So, if your light were to come on at 6:30 in the morning, but you didn't wake up till 7 that morning, it might not be the end of the world that your light was on for 30 extra minutes, when you weren't using it, since LED bulbs don't use as much electricity. So yeah, setting up those schedules is really, really nice. Then you don't have to go around the whole room turning things off. Or you could even set a group. That's where the hubs come in. You can even set a group, like multiple switches or multiple lights. So these are just some examples of smart plugs here, some of the best ones out there that work with different ecosystems. So this is an Amazon one, $25. That one's actually really expensive. This one, or on the expensive side. This is one that's works with Apple HomeKit. It's $26 for one of them, but they'll come with multi-packs, and then they'll get cheaper. Um, Often. One thing that one other little tidbit of information is like these plugs can be a little bit big. So sometimes they cover up the other plug, or if they don't cover up the other plug, they might not cover up the other plug, but then the plug that you're trying to put into the other plug might be too big that it now won't fit. So I've got that happening in my house where like it seems cool to have the smart plug, but then I can't get anything into the second plug that I want. It depends on what you're plugging into it. So then you can only plug one thing in. Um, and they actually make smart outlets. So you can actually just replace your outlet on your wall. That would take actually like taking your outlet out, like turning off your breaker, turning off your electricity, and like removing your outlet. But that just has this circuitry built in, the Wi-Fi circuitry built in behind the wall. So those are cool, but they're actually a pretty similar price, like 25 or to $50, but you would just have to pick which outlets you want to do that with, because if you did with all of them in your home, it would add up quite a bit. Any questions at this point? I feel like we might want to take a little info break. I guess not. Okay, I can jump back into it. But just
Okay.
stop me if anyone has any questions, because I can just talk forever.
This is
Uh,
great.
um, so yeah, as you can imagine, the smart outlets just kind of look normal. Um, but you have to enable them with your Wi-Fi and you can turn them on and off. So then you get into smart bulbs. I actually find this to be maybe about the most confusing. Um, because, okay, so the name brand that you'll see a lot is called Philips Hue. And so you go to their site and it looks really cool. And you can do different colors even if you want to. And it's kind of like the name brand, um, top of the line, but it is more expensive. They so well, I guess I'll go down my bullet points here. They're more expensive name brand. They can use Bluetooth for turning on and off and dimming, like just basic functions. You can actually just use Bluetooth and you don't have to use Wi-Fi. But if you want to use more advanced functions, like you want to turn them on and off when you're not home, or you want to like group them into groups or use them with hubs, you have to buy a Wi-Fi bridge. It's another like $50 box that plugs in to your router. You have to plug it into your Wi-Fi router. But I think that the trade-off is they work better, they're more stable, and they are just better quality light. It's kind of hard to quantify that, but they dim more smoothly, and the light is um, I guess they dim more smoothly is one of the things. I haven't actually tried them out, so I couldn't tell you exactly the difference if they're worth the premium. Um, but three types of bulbs to keep in mind. So there's just white, or they'll call them warm white, and those kind of bulbs don't change colors. They're just kind of like a normal bulb, right? They just are a soft white, and you can dim them or you can turn them on and off, but that's it. And then they have this one here, this middle one, cool to warm white. Those are interesting to me. I think that's what I would probably get personally. So these, you can adjust the temperature, is what they call that on lighting. You can adjust how warm the white is. So you can have them be bright white, like daylight, or like cool white, kind of like for a kitchen or something. And then you can also have them be very almost orange. So they have a warm glow to them. So that's really neat because you can, so, one of the things they tell you can do is like have it be cooler in the morning and during the day when you're like want to be more energetic, and then in, uh, in the nighttime you can have them be warmer when you're like winding down and you don't need as much blue light in your eyes and you're like watching TV or whatever. That seems kind of cool to me to have like your living room feel warm and cozy when it gets to 9 p.m. and really bright and daylight, at noon. But these don't actually do like red and blue. They just do different shades of white. Um, this is a really quick aside. I'm going to Google a random thing here, Kelvin temperature. So sometimes you might see, when we're talking about white light, you might see the the kelvins is what they call it. And it looks like this. Can you see this website here? The higher the number, the cooler the white light, and the lower the number, the warmer the white light. So I don't know if I can look into the stats of these lights, but a lot of them they might go from like 2,000 to 6,000 or something like that, and they'll go from like orange to almost bluish white. Um, and so the lower the number is warmer, and the higher the number is cooler. Just something to kind of be aware of. I'm not sure if they list it on these lights or not. They might. Yeah, I don't necessarily want to get way down in that. Oh, it's color temperature here. It goes 2200 Kelvin to 6500 Kelvin. So it goes that warm to that cool. And it's just something to be aware of. That's kind of like a kind of a technical thing, but it's kind of I always personally forget, like, is it higher that's more orange or lower that's more orange? And it's the lower that's more orange. So sometimes you can look at like a regular bulb that doesn't change colors, just like this warm white bulb here, and it'll tell you how many Kelvin it is, and then you can get a sense, like if you're comparing two bulbs, you can tell which one's going to be warmer and which one's going to be cooler. And so, yeah, those are the kind of the more expensive ones. They're $15 for just the white bulb, and then $22 a bulb for the one that changes colors or changes whites. It's $22 a bulb, and then they have a full color changing bulb, and those are $45 a piece. So they really kind of add up. And with those, you can do like, colors like they always show them doing pink and purple for some reason. That must be what they're really good at. But I guess that's what people think looks really cool. It's always with the pink and purples. It does look pretty cool. But yeah, if you have, like 8 pot lights in your kitchen and your dining area, I mean, it would add up quite a bit. Um, these and the other two options down here are just like just more affordable ones. Miros is a brand that I found that is well regarded and works with all three ecosystems. And this is just a warm white. It's not tunable. It not doesn't change. It's just one white color. And then another one is the Wise Cool to Warm White. So that's a tunable one. So that's a really inexpensive one. That seems like a cool one. That one just works with Amazon and Google Hubs. All right. So now let's get into this is actually something that I just did recently. I moved in the spring, and so I had a Wi-Fi thermostat at my old house, and that was like one of the first things that I had to get back was a Wi-Fi thermostat because once you can like turn the heat up from like in your bed or have the thermostat like warm up in the morning and cool down while you're sleeping automatically and stuff like that, it's pretty hard to go back from that. Um, So I think Wi-Fi thermostats are like one of the coolest, most like useful of all these kind of tools. Um, I'm actually going to start at the bottom of this list. In my house that I moved from, I had this Sensi thermostat. It's only $80 now, which is super affordable, and it doesn't look. This is the thing; it looks conventional. A lot of these Wi-Fi thermostats, they make them look real cute, and they're like very stylish. But not everyone wants that. And then these are they just look like a conventional thermostat and they just have a button up and down. And you can walk over to it and just turn it up just like you would a normal thermostat. And it's $80 and it works great. You can set schedules and you can control it from whatever phone you want. And I think it works with all of it says Amazon Alexa here, but thinking I'm not sure if it works with all the um, ecosystems. I thought that it said that on their website, but I could be wrong. Anyway, that's a cool option. It's just inexpensive. Um, but yeah, these are kind of the main players in the thermostat market. Yeah, the Ecobee or Ecobee Lite is $100 and $150, and it works with all three ecosystems. And then you have a Google Nest, which is pretty similar. Actually, they can get a little cheaper. I actually ended up getting that one because it doesn't have a camera or a mic in there. It's not listening to you or watching you or anything like that. It's just a thermostat. And that's what I wanted. So I got the Google Nest one. But now I'm like wishing maybe I should have gotten the Ecobee since it works with the Apple HomeKit. So I just go into the Google app, the Google Home app, and I adjust my thermostat in the Google Home app. But like it wouldn't work inside of the Apple HomeKit app if I wanted to integrate all my stuff in there. Um, So some of these get kind of fancy. What I've included here is the kind of the basic models. So this is the Ecobee, looks like that. Oh, another little feature that I thought was important is this is actually might have been what made my decision. I think the Ecobee shows real big on the screen what temperature it is. And I'm of the opinion that I don't care what temperature it is, I want to see what temperature it's set to. Because like that's the number that I'm actually adjusting. So I don't know. And on the Nest, it's the Google Nest, it shows you the temperature that it's set to.
Huh.
I yeah. So it's like that's a slight difference, but um it's like a slight pet peeve of mine. Like it doesn't I don't care what the thermostat thinks it is inside. I just care if I'm cold or hot, you know? Like it says it's warm enough, but I'm still cold. So I need to turn it up a notch. Um, but so some of these like the Google Nest and it could be they have higher end models that have sensors that will go in other parts of your house. So your thermostat like is in your living room, but then you can if you have a bedroom that's cold all the time, you can put a sensor in that bedroom and it'll sense that that bedroom is cold and it'll like I I actually don't know the details on this. I think it kind of can average out those two sensors and take that into account. So then it's not just going off the temperature in one room that no one's sleeping in. You can put sensors in the bedroom so that it can take that into account when to come on and when to come off to keep the temperature more stable, supposedly. So they have like usually they have like $250 models that'll do that. Amazon makes one, looks like this. I think this might be kind of new. It's only $80. And I don't remember seeing that when I was buying mine 6 months ago. Okay, so real quick before we move on, then it gets a little technical here. What is a C wire? If you get one of these, it's important if you look at the Amazon thermostat here, there's two kinds you can get. No C wire adapter or with a C wire adapter. So this is where it gets a little confusing. A C wire is, I have an article that I found that was really good. It's called common wire and it gives electricity to your thermostat. So old houses and old thermostats and old HVAC systems, they might not have needed electricity to the thermostat. It could have just been like an on-off switch. But the newer and newer the thermostats have gotten, and with like displays and backlit displays, they need more and more electricity. And so these new smart ones, they do need electricity. So when you install one of these, you can usually do it yourself. It's not too bad, but as you can see kind of in these pictures, there are several wires inside your thermostat control. So you kind of have to pop off your thermostat control and you have to look at the wires that you have and you have to figure out if you have a common wire. And if you do, then usually you can hook up the new one with no problem. But if you don't have a C wire, then you might even have to run a new wire through your wall from the thermostat controller down to your HVAC system. Um, so that basically, what I'm saying is, if you're serious about buying one of these, that's one thing to look at is to look at the instructions of how to like if I was looking at a Google Nest, I would go to Google Nest and I would look at the instructions of how to install the Google Nest, and then I would take the lid off of my thermostat control and see what my wiring was like and see if it was going to work. It is a little confusing, but a lot of these companies have really good instructions for how to do it.
Mhm.
The Google one actually has an app that walks you through every single step, and you can take photos of it with your phone, and it tells you which one to connect where, because you have to like convert it over a little bit. So just something to be aware of, that C wire. If you don't have one, you might not be able to use a new uh, Wi-Fi thermostat without installing a C wire. That's fun. That was a fun topic. Um, but yeah, I love Wi-Fi thermostat. And like I said, with a hub, you could conceivably group it with your lighting and with your music, and you could say like I'm in chill. I could say like, "Hey Alexa, do chill mode," and then like Alexa would turn down the lights and turn on your heater and play some music. Like you can kind of group it all together if you wanted. I actually didn't put it on any of these lists, but I saw somewhere where they have um, Wi-Fi smart curtain. They're like a
Yeah.
little machine that goes on your curtain rod that'll
Oh.
like open and close your curtains, and I hadn't actually seen that. And they have smart blinds too. They sound like they might get a little pricey. I don't actually have those on my list, but those seem cool. Yeah, I'll speed up a little bit. I was going a little too slow, but video doorbells, those are really common. So you've probably seen these quite a bit. Um, you can get video doorbells that are hardwired or a battery. And so hardwired means you take off your original doorbell and you actually wire the new doorbell on there and it gives it electricity. Um, and it's pretty simple to do, but you have to turn off your breaker and wire it in there. Or you could just have it be battery powered, which you just stick that anywhere. You don't have to stick it exactly where your old doorbell was. You could stick it like on the side of a garage or something like that. Um, so usually the battery ones are a little bit more, no, I can't remember. One of them's more expensive. Uh, let's look at this first one here.
Wired.
Yeah, I forget if it's the wire that's more expensive or the battery. It seems like the battery would actually cost more to have a battery in it, but
Mhm.
they're not too different though. Um, yeah, these are just, I have some lists here. The New York Times Wirecutter picks and the Wired.com picks, like for their best doorbells. Um, this is where it kind of gets into the nitty gritty. These companies, um, a lot of the doorbells they seem to, I mean, they all have good quality cameras. Some are a little bit better than others. Um, they, I think they all like will show you a preview of what the camera is seeing and send alerts to your phone, like when it senses movement. Um, but most of them seem to require a subscription for recording and for like more advanced features, like trying to discern whether it's a person or a dog. They have like some use like the Google one, I think uses like AI to try to tell whether it's a person or an animal, so they're not getting alerts to your phone when a cat goes on your porch. Um, so the subscription is just kind of one of the main things to look out for with these. It's usually pretty reasonable though. It's just a few dollars a month, and if you pay for it for the whole year, it's like $30 or $40 a year or something like that. You can just pay one time. So just take that into account. There's that Arlo one that seems to be a really well liked one. There's this Google Nest one that I think looks pretty. If it's on your house, you might want it to look pretty. There's different colors of this one. It has cream and sage and some cool colors. And then the Ring doorbell, which is probably the most popular. I've seen a lot of those. Um, but it's $65, so it's really affordable. The Ring one is, and that works with Amazon Alexa. And then there's a Logitech one, which is $200. It's really expensive, but supposedly it works the best with Apple iPhone. Everything that works the best with iPhone is just a little bit more expensive. That's one pattern that you'll see. So yeah, this one works like natively or works straight inside of the Apple HomeKit app. Um, any other questions about those?
Those are
I mean,
amazing.
yeah, I mean, basically, the main thing for these is like you can be away from your home, and if your doorbell camera senses movement, it'll send a notification, and you can click on it, open up the app, and then see what your camera sees. Or some of them will actually show you like a preview of the camera feed, just kind of pop up on your phone. So I think that's what the Arlo, I was reading this articles that I linked, the Arlo does that, and they said they really like that. It'll just show like pop up with instead of it being just a notification on your phone, it'll be like a moving preview of what's happening. So you can kind of just glance at your phone rather than having to click into an app to see it. But I think these are all, they all work well. It's just kind of like which one you like the look of and which one you like the price of and which one has whether you want to pay for that subscription or not. So then if you get into that, the next thing you might get into is security cameras. So the doorbell companies, most of them make even more cameras, and you can kind of outfit your whole house with like security cameras. And a lot of these are indoor, outdoor, I think. This Arlo brand is another popular one. I think actually the library has one of these that we're using in the auditorium. So the Arlo, this one here, um, it's about 150 bucks. And it's battery powered, so it's wireless, and the battery lasts for I saw 3 to 6 months. I saw a couple months, two different places. So I just put 2 to 3 months. So the battery lasts for a while, but not a super long time. It can go indoor, outdoor. There's that 3 month subscription. Sorry, $3 a month subscription to record the video. So like you can look at the video with your phone or whatever device, but you can't record it and have it all saved. But it is compatible with all ecosystems, so that seems like a nice thing for the Arlo brand. Ring has one thing called the stick-up camera. This is camera right here. It's $100, it's a little cheaper. Wyze, my best friend just got a bunch of Wyze cameras, so they're much cheaper. They're $30, so that seems like a very good budget pick. These little cameras like that, and yeah, they work with Alexa and Google Assistant. You can get 2 camera kits and 3 camera kits.
So how do you know, Jim, like how long the recordings are kept, or are they always accessible, or
I think that's where the nitty-gritty is, and it
yeah,
depends on like the subscription and like yeah, how much cloud storage. I think I saw on one of them. I'm sorry, I don't know the details on that. I saw
okay.
on one of them, whether it's the Ring or the Arlo, like you know, it was like a month or something like that, and it just like keeps. But that's the detail is in the subscription there. So you go to the site, go to the website of these specific companies, and they have their they all call their subscriptions like a different name, and they have different they'll tell you how long it lasts. But you don't actually have to get that. But
Well, that's what, yeah, Margie just asked that question, and the subscriptions are only necessary if you want to record the video, right?
that was my understanding. I actually haven't purchased these myself. I'm not like really into it, but my understanding is that it's mostly for recording,
Okay.
and like yeah, saving the footage and being able to access it later. But you could like have security cameras and just look at all the feeds. It's just you're kind of paying for the cloud storage is what you're paying for. Now some of them actually, I saw one that actually had like onboard storage, like an SD card or something that it would record to. Um, there, I didn't include it on here, but it was a spot, a floodlight, a camera with a floodlight on it that you could put like on your back porch or something.
Mhm.
There was like motion activated floodlight, and then it would start recording. That seems pretty cool.
There's another question in the chat about, is there a program or a device that will lock and unlock your front door from your phone?
Oh yeah, we're about to get to that one. That's
Oh,
actually
okay.
that's actually maybe my favorite. Um, oh yeah, Jim's favorites. There we go.
There we
Next slide.
go. Man, right on
Perfect,
cue.
perfect question. So yeah, this is the August Wi-Fi smart lock. So like I was saying, I'm actually not super into smart home. Like I don't have a speaker or a microphone listening to me, and I don't have cameras all over the place or anything. But I have 2 kids, and the Wi-Fi smart lock. We made sure. I think we might have put that in our seller's disclosure. We're taking the Wi-Fi smart lock because I that's like one of my favorite things. So what you can unlock and lock your door from your phone, but there's actually many ways that it can work. Okay, so this one works with all ecosystems. This is the most popular brand, but there's several other brands that are really nice. I could show you another picture even of this smart lock uh, to kind of show you what it looks like on the back of a door. I don't know if to get you a little bit better sense of it. It looks like that. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah.
So what it does is you take off the inside plate of your deadbolt, and when you take off the plate, you're left with just like a flat pole that goes through the lock. That's the actual gear mechanisms that's locking the deadbolt. And so you don't actually have to change your lock. You just have to take off the interior plate of your lock and of your deadbolt, and then it basically acts like your hand turning the lock.
Okay.
So you're not replacing. I think they do sell versions that you can replace your whole lock, but this one is kind of one of the most popular. It just turns your deadbolt for you, turns your existing deadbolt. Um, see, and then you can turn it. You can lock it with an app, but I actually like, so there's another one of it on the door. Looks like that.
Mhm.
Looks pretty nice. It's not too big. They've actually made them smaller in the last few years. It used to be even more bulky. Um, so yeah, it works with your existing door lock. You can lock it with your phone, but what I like doing more is you can turn on a feature where it will automatically unlock when your phone, when you come home or your phone is close to your house. So, you pull up in your driveway and then your phone connects to your Wi-Fi is what happens. And then when that happens, the door will unlock.
Huh.
And with my old house, I actually used to, sometimes I would get out of my car too fast and go up to the door and it wasn't quite unlocked yet, and then it would unlock. But but yeah, with like two kids, you just always have like stuff in your hands and you're like trying to get them in the door, or you have like groceries or whatever. And it's pretty awesome. You just get used to it. You come home and it's just unlocked, which is nice. Um, but there's also a keypad you see here that you can get with it. And so you can actually put this little keypad by your door, and then if someone comes over to your house, you can actually give them the code to get in, or you could unlock it from your phone for them, like while you're not at home. But what I really like about this keypad is you lock the door with just hitting that red button. So when
Okay.
you're leaving, you don't have to pull your keys out when you're leaving your house. You just close your door, hit the red button, and that's pretty cool too.
So there's another question from Gary. Can you still manually lock and unlock the August smart lock on the inside?
Yeah, that entire silver thing just rotates, and so it's just
Okay.
like locking it like a normal lock. So it's pretty slick. But I'll tell you, this is the last part of my last bullet point here. Installation isn't difficult, but your deadbolt must be perfectly adjusted. Like, you know how your door gets tighter and looser, and your locks will work differently throughout the different seasons. Like sometimes it'll just slide right in, and then sometimes it like you have to pull the door while you're locking the door. um, that's a problem with these things, because when the seasons change and then the deadbolt, if you're not there to pull on the door or adjust it, it'll just hit the striker plate and then the batteries will run out.
Oh,
So, I mean, they won't run out immediately, but it'll kind of try a few times. It ends up running out the batteries quicker than it should. Um, so what I've had to do is get a file, like a metal file from the hardware store, and file down the inside of that striker plate to make it bigger. And it's kind of important that your deadbolt just slides in there perfectly, which is a big ask a lot of times, honestly. I
yeah.
mean, it is. It's like if you have an older home, or I mean, or any home really, they always change throughout the season. So that's the biggest pain of those things, is you have to make sure that that bolt's just sliding right in there perfectly. If it's not perfect, then it might not lock.
So Shelley has a question. What keeps the smart lock from unlocking when you're near your door from the inside and go to answer your door?
That's a really good question. I actually don't lock my, I don't, I should know the answer to that, but I don't lock my door a lot when I'm at home, but you can just manually lock it and it won't automatically unlock. I think it just knows you're already there. I think
Oh,
it's like,
weird.
it's like when you aren't there and you get there is when it unlocks. But if you're just there, it doesn't keep it unlocked if once you manually lock it. So if you go in your house and you manually lock it, or you lock it with the app, I think it'll just
Stay locked.
stay locked. Yeah. There's some settings in the app where you can kind of customize that.
Okay.
But
And
yeah,
then Carla Dean asks, how does it work when you have a security system?
I don't know that. There are like, you can get pretty complicated with the security systems. I don't know how this would integrate into a security system. Um,
That's a
I imagine
question
I
for
imagine it could
Rudolph.
though. Yeah. I imagine that you could have like, I mean, it'll give you an alert to your phone when someone unlocks your door, for instance.
Mhm.
It gets and I imagine, like, again with the ecosystems, if you had a security system that like worked well with the same ecosystem as this, you could kind of like integrate everything, I
Mhm.
imagine.
Just for as the timekeeper, we're a couple minutes from before 5. So
Yeah, I think we're doing well for a change. This is ready for my second favorite pick. This is my other favorite pick that I use personally, is these water detectors. So these aren't the sexiest of smart home gadgets, but um, you can place these by like your sump pump or your water heater or your washing machine or underneath a sink or your dishwasher, and there's just two little metal contacts, and they kind of just sit on the floor. And if water goes across the floor and it connects that circuit, they'll go off like a fire alarm, like a smoke alarm, and uh, and they'll send notifications to your phone.
That's
So
neat.
that's very, very cool to me because like water damage is just the worst
Mhm.
with a home. So like if you have a toilet that's like leaked before, you could just put it underneath that toilet and it'll just sit there. I actually don't know how long these batteries last. I think they last a long time though, like year or years. And they make a really loud beeping and they send notifications to your phone. So like if it was in your basement, and your sump pump overflows, like your sump pump stops working, and your sump pump starts to overflow, like you'll know immediately and you'll be able to catch it before it just like does that without you knowing. The other scenario that I would think would be cool is like if you have a neighbor that you trust, if you're out of town and you got like a notification like that, they could go over and check on things, and make sure you don't have like water pouring through your ceiling somewhere.
Right.
Because so that's and these are like this like $55. So I think that's a really good smart home buy because that could save you a lot of money if you ever have a problem with that.
Margie's asking, do they have to be compatible with one of the ecosystems?
So this is a good example where I don't really think it's very important on this one because
Mhm.
it's not something that you're going in and adjusting all the time. Like you don't come home and say, "Hey, Amazon, adjust the water sensors." You just want to get the notification. So this brand that I ended up buying, I didn't really think too hard about it. It's called Govee,
Mhm.
and it just has its own little app on my phone, and it sends me notifications. But it's not really as important that it integrates with other things. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't go into that Govee app and like check them. I just want them to send me a notification. But with all that said, I don't think mine became disconnected somehow, and I gotta troubleshoot that. So with all these things, like it's very, very cool until like some little thing changes. Like I think I moved my router, and I was messing with that, and like they became disconnected, so I need to go make sure they're connected again. Okay, so I do like evangelizing about those two things because I think they're like really like once you have a smart thermostat and a smart front door lock is the most that's the most luxurious of them. But it's the water detectors I think could save you a lot of money. Yeah, and I think we actually covered some of these. We'll hit them real quick. Is your smart speaker always listening? I put a few articles here. Basically, what these companies say is no, they're just listening for the command. They're listening for Hey Siri, or they're listening for Hey Alexa, and then they start kind of monitoring the audio or like recording the audio or processing what you say. But supposedly they don't really listen until then. But it's really hard to kind of verify that really. The companies say they don't, but you should believe that, but at the same time, you can't really tell like 100%. Um, and the Google Nest speaker and hubs, they actually have a switch on the back to turn the mic off. There's a physical switch where you can turn it off if you want. And
Cool.
in the Apple for the Apple things, they have usually a switch in the app that'll turn it off. Um, oh, and this is just something I forgot. The other thing is something I forgot to
Uh,
delete because I duplicated a slide and forgot to delete that. So
that's okay.
that is the same
Can't
information
hear
as we just went.
enough about water detectors.
Yeah, and then the last thing was just I actually meant to change this in the order. This shouldn't be last. It was just Wi-Fi speakers versus Bluetooth. And I'll just run down this real quick, and then we'll be done. A lot of you might have seen Sonos Wi-Fi speakers, um, and then there's Bluetooth speakers, which I'm sure, I mean, most people probably have seen those or have one of those. Um, Bluetooth speakers are great. They're really convenient, but if you walk away from the speaker with your phone, like more than like a room or two over, it can start cutting out and you don't have very good range. But they are like usually pretty affordable, like $100 or less, and they're usually battery powered and they can be waterproof. You can take them to the beach and all kinds of stuff. But the Wi-Fi speakers, Sonos is the most popular brand. They usually sound better, but they're significantly more expensive. Like they can cost, this one I linked is $200, but they can get up to like $400 and $600. Um, but they connect over Wi-Fi, so you can. It doesn't matter where you are in your home, and it's a more stable connection, and it's actually higher quality music because Wi-Fi has more bandwidth to it, and you can link multiple speakers and have them all play the same music in different rooms. Um, but you kind of have to use their app. So it doesn't play everything out of your phone. That was the thing I didn't like about it, is if you're trying to play a YouTube video, it doesn't actually just play out of your Sonos very easily. But whereas a Bluetooth will just play everything off your phone, doesn't matter. And so you kind of have to use their app and route everything through their app. Oh, last thing I'll say about the Wi-Fi speakers is they can just be obsoleted, where like they just decide this one doesn't work anymore. It's not supported, and then your speaker can just stop working, or it can just not work with any of the new models and stuff. Um, I'm getting a little too long-winded. I'll hold myself back, but I also had a Wi-Fi cat feeder. It was pretty awesome. It was awesome. But then the company went out of business, and that thing didn't work anymore, just
Oh
like
man, the
that.
cat starved. That is
I
sad.
know. Well, actually, it still worked. It still did its thing on the schedule, but you couldn't make any more changes. Like the app just wouldn't respond anymore. Like their servers, they just took their servers offline. So the app wouldn't communicate with the. So that's the thing, just to kind of think about with some of these things, like they're cool, but if that company goes out of business or they decide that that speaker no longer works, they could just kind of decide that, and then it's just kind of obsolete. So they're not really an investment as much as like an old-fashioned speaker would be. You know, they might not work in 10 years. But Sonos is the biggest brand, so they're the most reputable, but that's a little drawback. All right, I think that's everything I had.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much. That was just excellent.
Thanks for bearing with me
Bravo.
those last few minutes. I always have to go over a little bit.
Well, I've learned one thing, and that's that there's a Bluetooth cat feeder or whatever. Who
My cat,
knew?
my cat was overweight, so I tried to feed the cat small portions of food throughout the day rather than have the big bowl of food, you know. It was very cool.
Do
Oh,
they
and
do
it
that for
also,
people too?
I also, programmed it to put out the food in the middle of the night so the cat won't wake you up wanting food. It was pretty cool. And so there's definitely other ones out there. I should have put that on the list. I think that's a good one.
It's great. Well, tons of thank yous and great ideas and wows. So that was fantastic. Thank you. And again, the recording will be available tomorrow. I'll send you an email with the link both to the recording as well as to Jim's slides so you can dig a little deeper and do your research. So thank you so much. Thanks for joining
Thank
us.
you.
All right. And we'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah, man, it just keeps flooding in, Jim.
Yeah, just that was the last thing I meant to do is change the order of that Bluetooth speaker went. So we just
Yeah.
squeezed that in at the end there, but
Yeah.
I've always wondered those questions. I feel like people wonder that.
Yeah, Jeff is still on. He said, Simple Safe has been a good option for security, doorbell, water detection, glass breaking, and doors.
Yes, I've definitely heard about that company a lot.
It's a good tip.
Yep. Simply Safe or Simple Safe. Yeah.
Yeah, the only problem with them is their cameras, their outdoor cameras are really expensive. They're $189.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, but their indoor cameras are a lot more reasonable.
yeah. They were definitely like a early player in that market. It seems like
Mhm.
there's so many of them. You see all these videos online of people like catching funny things in their yard, and you start realizing there's a lot of cameras out there now. A lot of people have
Thanks a
cameras.
lot for putting it on.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you. Thanks for joining us, Jeff.
Take care.
Thanks. You too.